I came back and added a second layer of flowers, and I added them wherever I thought there was space, and even where there wasn't space I kind of just put them close together to make a profusion of flowers. And so some of them don't have stalks or leaves. I'll go back and add those in. And also I noticed that a lot of them, the ones that were there before, were more of a greeny white, so it was just not the right colour. I had to do another layer of white over them. And some of them I left a bit of the undercolour in, and some I didn't. Just depends on how hard you press with the brush or the lightness of your touch. If you don't want a lot of colour to come off the brush, you press lightly. And also, like, some of the petals I wanted to be in the front and others to recede. So then I would make those more, more defined. And so now I'm going to go back and add in the stalks and the leaves. And then, like, that one has a natural centre. Some of them don't have much of a centre, but that might be because the petals are covering the centre, but I can still put in a little colour there. And then also, because I waited until the background was dry before I painted on the petals, instead of doing wet onto wet, I didn't pick up that much of the background colour, so there's not that much of the colour reflected either in the flowers or even around them. You can see that there's a bit of the yellow there. But I think I'm going to just pick up a bit of mixed colours of each flower and then just put it on the tip. So not like pure mauve, pure magenta. I'll pick up the mixed magenta and white, a very light shade, and then put that on top of the wet white, and that should make just a little tip of magenta on the flower, but still with a defined petal on the edge. And I won't do that on all of them. I'll just see. And also, when I added the petals now, I did them very dry. I mean, there was no oil on the brush other than the initial oil which I had used to wet the brush. And that one bit of oil carried me right throughout the painting. So it really was dry onto dry, and prevented any further blending. But now I need to add some more colour. I forgot to put my palette into the container last night, with the result that most of the paints have dried out, but there is a little bit there to just add a bit of the violet grey to the white. So I'm getting a very light shade of violet grey, and I'll just add that to some of the petals where there was violet in the background, like there. And it might be enough to make a difference, or it might not, depending on how much white there is. So that's what I'll do wherever I see there's an option to do that. There's more violet there. No, this violet is pretty much it seems like a little is coming off there. And so I'll continue. The magnolia is an interesting and complicated flower. It has these bud scales which form a protective layer around the flower as it ripens. And even after they kind of shrink or die, they leave scars behind. So there's always a little bit of green in the petals. And they also are, I suppose, one of the unique flowers in that they contain both male and female parts. So when the flower is in the bud stage, it's kind of completely covered by this layer of green, and then it sort of peels back or shrinks and the white flower is revealed. So I'm not going to do that on all of them, because some of them I want the bud to be showing. But I certainly do need to put a lot more leaves in where I've deleted most of my leaves. So that's what I'm doing now. And then some of them, well, they all have stamens and then the reproductive parts in the center. But for the most part, I've covered up the center, so you're not going to see a lot of that. But if I do add that in, I'd really have to wait till the end, till it's dry, and use a very fine brush. And I'll see if I get to that. I'm nearing the end of the painting now. What I did was I added more of the raw umber to the branches to make the branches stand out a bit more, as they were kind of faded, and to differentiate between the branches and the stalks with the leaves on and the flowers. And obviously the further away the flowers are, the more you need a strong branch to carry them there. Although I have looked at the magnolia trees, and sometimes very thin branches hold, like thin green branches hold a lot of flowers. So, and also they are evergreens, so they bloom all year round. But at the moment I see trees that are really bare, and some have flowers but no leaves, some have leaves but no flowers. So I guess it's, just each tree is different, each species. So I also added the yellow in where the stamens might be, and of course yellow being yellow, too much came off, so now I will have to wait for that to dry and come back and add more white there. And also, this is the central flower, and I want your eye to be drawn, the viewer's eye to be drawn to this central sort of queen of the flowers, and then to fan out into all the other flowers. But it got a bit smaller there than I wanted, so I'll have to come back and outline that in white. Like this one is outlined in white, so it stands out quite clearly, and it's got a bit of the background colours in it, which I did add into some of them. And some of them you can see there's blue, and there's mauve, and then some of the canvas I saw wasn't really covered very nicely, so I just put a bit more yellow and white there just to cover it. And yeah, I added more leaves all over the place because there definitely weren't enough leaves. And so now I think it's looking nice and full, but my eyes are really looking, everything's looking really fuzzy to me now. So I will leave it to dry and come back tomorrow and see what else needs to be done. Do I need to add more flowers anywhere, or do I just need to highlight some of the main flowers? And so hopefully I'll have a clearer picture of it in the morning. And also now you can see that the background is less intrusive. It's more sort of into the background, even though the colors are quite dark still. They just highlight the colors of the magnolias. So I'll be back tomorrow. I really liked how this painting has turned out this morning. I'm a bit sick. Well, it's actually this afternoon already. I haven't been able to paint all day. But I'm going to try now, just for a little bit. And I'm going to just start by making these yellow areas a little bit less yellow, just by putting in these stamens over the yellow. And then I'm going to put magenta over those to sort of create the cone shape stamens that are in the center of some of the species. They're all different. They definitely don't all look the same. And looking at the photographs close, well, even though I enlarge them close up, I really can't see what's going on inside them. So part of it's guesswork. But it doesn't really matter. It flowers this size. If you walk past a tree like this, you wouldn't see the detail. So I'd have to actually pick one and take it apart to find out what's going on inside. And but I did learn an interesting fact, and that is that I think the grandiflora magnolias, the flowers bloom first before the leaves, so you don't actually see the leaves. So that explains why I have seen trees with flowers and no leaves, or not much in the way of leaves, and small leaves. And yet other descriptions say they have a rather large and leathery type of leaves. Well, I haven't seen those, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm looking at. But from the photographs and from Wikipedia, the inflammation I got. So I'll carry on doing this. And then I also need to just make some of the leaves different color green, especially the ones in the center. I need to make that like a cool green around the flower to make the flower pop forward, because the cool green is a, well, cool colors help the warmer colors, and you could say white's a mid to warm color, but it is quite warm when you add on other colors, and you've got all these different tones and shades in it. It's not pure white anymore. So that will also just be the kind of the finishing touch. I love color, and I added in some cool green. I also added in some Viridian green. I picked it up by mistake. I had intended to use it, but then I had to change my mind, and then I picked it up by mistake, and I really didn't like the look of it. It was just too harsh and just didn't go with the rest of this color palette. So I'm gonna have to wait until those leaves dry. I mean, those are okay. That is just a bit too blue. And maybe if I mix it with some of the sap green, it won't look so harsh. But basically that's it. I'm adding in now these magenta sort of stamens in that cone shape, and just here and there, not on all of them. Some I might just do like, well, there, that's the back of the flower, so you don't see it. Just a few little ones. There you also don't see it. There's a big petal in the front there. Just a few here. This one's open, so I'll do a few more. And this magenta does add a little bit of liveliness. I mean, sometimes when you see these flowers open, they do look like the magentas kind of fanning out from the center, even though the rest of the petals are white. But I don't want to put too much in case I, ruin my design. So that's it. I'll continue and I'll bring you back when the painting is completed. I'm very happy with it. I think the light from behind has turned out very nice, and the light right now is not very good, but when I looked at it this morning, I was really very happy.